The French president, Emmanuel Macron, is in Algeria. Why is he in Algeria? Well, I'll give it to you straight. He wants gas. You see, the Europeans, they're panicking because of the war in Ukraine. They're looking for new gas supplies, and Algeria has a lot of gas. And keep in mind, Algeria already supplies gas to a lot of European countries like Italy, Spain, and France as well. I want to show you the kind of reception that Macron got when he went to Algeria. Because keep in mind, when we say France and Algeria, oh la la, this is not just, two countries. No. There is a deep, bloody history. There is a deep wound, a deep scar that is honestly, I would say for a lot of Algerians, is still open. Because what the French did in Algeria, I'm going to get to in a second. I just want to show you the kind of response that he got. Look at the caption, what it says here. Macron today in Algeria, he approaches crowds thinking that they're greeting him. Algerian police know better, as the chants consist of, quote, fuck you, and they quickly scramble him into the car. Let's take a listen. I couldn't hear it at first, but now that I've listened to it a couple of times, I can hear it. They're basically saying enculé, which means this, which means screw you. Now, I did see some other videos. Hold on, let me play this one. I think this might be another angle. You can see them trying to rush him into the car, and he's not listening. He keeps waving at them. I've seen other people saying that they weren't saying screw you. They were saying 1, 2, 3, Viva Algérie, which is a common slogan, right? But I mean, even that, even if it's that, it's still sort of like screw you in a sense. Because this guy, wow, he's really an actor, isn't he? The French, they occupied Algeria for about 150 years, right? And it ended with a really, really bloody civil war. And of course, in French, it's called la guerre d'indépendance. So they call it the War of Independence. And it's funny because at the time, the French, they would not even say civil war, right? Because it was very embarrassing for them. Because for them, Algeria was not a colony or a mandate like Morocco or Syria. It was part of France. It was a département, like you would have a state in the United States, right? So that's how integral the French considered Algeria. And if I'm not mistaken, you had between 1 million and 1.5 million settlers, right? And they all left, most of them, and they called them les pieds noirs, black feet. And so you had a really bloody War of Independence from 1954 to 1962, and the number of Algerians killed, I mean, some people call this a genocide because the numbers are so outrageous, and of how vindictive it was, right? So the floor, the minimum that we're talking about is 1.5 million, right? And it really varies. You have some people that say it's 5 million, some people say it's 3 million. I mean, it doesn't change anything that we're saying, right? Like at the end of the day, these numbers, they're astronomical, they're outrageous, and you have a lot of torture that was carried out at the direction of the French state, right? So this isn't it's a few people who did a little bit of torture, which I mean, I don't say how that's okay, but this was really sanctioned and mandated by the French government. I mean, what I'm about to read to you, it sounds so weird and so brutal that, you might not think it's real, but it's very real. Look at this headline over here from France 24, and they say Algeria buries repatriated skulls of resistance fighters as it marks independence from France. This is in 2020. So basically, the French, in their 150 years of occupying Algeria, they would capture a resistance leader and his buddies, or capture just random resistance fighters and execute them, chop their heads off. And in some cases, they would shrink the heads. I mean, I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say. And keep in mind, they have not finished giving back all the skulls. So they still have other skulls of Algerians that are in Paris that they have yet to give back to Algeria. It's nuts. It's really nuts, and it's so brutal. And I want to show you also something else. Just as an example, you had 45,000 Algerians killed on May 8th, 1945. So you guys commonly know this date as VE Day, right? So that's Victory Europe Day. That's the defeat of the Nazis, defeat of fascism in Europe during World War II, right? It's the end of World War II for Europe, at least. Not in the Pacific yet, but for Europe. And on that day, again, my brain is struggling to process this because it's so crazy. On that day, you have 45,000 Algerians killed for demanding independence for their country. Okay, these are the official figures from the Algerian government. I mean, even if you took, let's say, a fraction of that, it's still crazy. So, it doesn't change anything. And of course, you have a lot of, as it says here, rape crimes. So it's not just about people being killed, it's also about people being raped, right? You had a lot of women that were raped by the army. And this is really important to remember this right here, which I wanted to show you. General Massou's 10th Parachute Division. Okay, so like I said, they were really at the tip of the spear when we talk about all these brutal crimes. You can't say that it was just this one division. No, it's 150 years of occupation, and like I said, we're talking about millions killed. And when we see Macron coming to Algeria, so basically the French, they're begging their former colony for gas. I mean, this is really something. Me, if I were Algeria, I wouldn't give them any of my business, right? So I wouldn't give them any gas. No gas. I'm sorry. We're closed for business. That's just me. And Macron is a really, really particularly weird guy, because I remember in 2017, I'll show you this video in a second, he's saying that yes, colonialism is really bad. And let me play it to you, and then I'll go to my next point. Okay? Here's a video.
La colonisation fait partie de l'histoire française. C'est un crime.
So he says, colonialism is part of France's history, and it is a crime.
C'est un crime contre l'humanité, c'est une vraie
It's a crime against humanity.
Barbarie, et ça fait partie.
And it's very barbaric.
De ce passé que nous devons regarder en face, en présentant aussi nos excuses à l'égard de celles et ceux vers lesquels nous avons commis ces gestes.
And it says it's something we have to look at. We have to take a head on and apologize to those we hurt. And then he says stuff like this. Okay, so that was 2017. This is 2021. Then he says stuff like this. He says, was there an Algeria anyway before French colonialism? So what they had done, they basically invited Algerian origin youths, if I'm not mistaken, and they invited them to l'Élysée, which is basically, the White House in France. And he says that to them while they're there. I mean, I'm stunned, honestly. I'm stunned. So this is from Reuters, right? And Macron had questioned whether there had been an Algerian nation before French colonial rule. So that's what he said. And as a result, the Algerians, they closed their airspace to French military planes who are fighting in Mali, and they recalled the ambassador. So it's not something, this is really, offensive, honestly. And now he's going and begging them for gas, because that's the only reason he's there. Like it's not something I'm speculating. No. The French are very clear about this, that they are there on an official visit. Macron is there on an official visit, and he's going for gas. And of course, we know why, because the war in Ukraine. Right? Like this is a last resort, and this is the French version of the Americans going to, well, not exactly, but the Americans going to Venezuela in the sense that they have to, kiss the butts of the very people that they were screwing. You understand? And obviously the French history in Algeria is much longer and worse than that. But you know, I think it's a justifiable analogy. And honestly, I don't know what they were yelling at him, whether it's 1, 2, 3, vive l'Algérie, or 1, 2, 3, vive l'Algérie, or if it was screw you. But either way, you know, Algeria is really seen as an important figure in the Arab world, because even though they were colonized for 150 years, what happened in the end? They kicked the French out. Like, they won. They won in the end. And so, you know, when people look to Algeria, there's a lot of respect. There's a lot of sympathy. There's a lot of compassion and understanding, especially in the Arab world. And, you know, Algeria itself, if I'm not mistaken, you know, has given asylum to, or shall we say, taken in, you know, Palestinian resistance fighters or people from, you know, the Black Liberation Movement in the United States. And so once again, this is in line with the whole mentality of anti-imperialism, anti-colonialism, and it's very powerful, right? And I think, if I'm not mistaken, you can go, if you have a Syrian passport, you have most of the, you have a passport from most of the Arab countries. You can go to Algeria without a visa. You just walk in. Even in general, if you look at the Palestinian resistance movement and the Palestinian plight, the Algerians are one of the Arab countries that have always given support to the Palestinians, or should we say given more support than the others, right? When we compare with, let's say, Morocco, or we compare with Saudi Arabia, it's Algeria has really always been behind the Palestinians. Again, the latest news that I have from the last couple of hours is that they are close to reaching a deal between France and Algeria, where Algeria will give 50% more gas to the French. I don't know if that's going to cover everything that they need, because I mean, just generally speaking, Russia gives so much gas to Europe. Remember, 30-40%, that filling this gap is a bit difficult. But in any case, whether the French and the Algerians are going to reach some kind of deal is not sure yet. We'll wait and see, because, as you know, Macron has really angered them in the past. And yeah, I mean, I completely understand. But we'll see what happens. Right. Once again, you see how the Ukraine war right now, its effects, the ripple effect is so large. You're seeing it everywhere. It's really, really so interesting how it's shaping world politics.